Good evening. It's Mary from the Singles Oasis. I would like to welcome you all to season 2, episode 4 of Navigating Singleness in 2026. Single Again, part 2. The Singles Oasis is a refuge and gathering place for singles. Here, singles will receive biblical wisdom and wise counsel, which will help them in their walk with Christ. Where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And that comes from Proverbs 11 and 14. I want to welcome all of our first time viewers and listeners. For online viewers, if you're checking in or checking us out for the first time, let us know in the chat where you're tuning in from. If you are a returning viewer or listener, we appreciate your support. And again, let us know you're here. So I'm so excited to continue part 2 of our segment. I'm even more excited that my special guest, Dr. Sharon Elliott, can join us again tonight. So Dr. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us for part 2. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, woo! No telling what we're going to get into tonight.
I know. So be prepared, you guys. Just get ready. And we just want to tell all of our viewers that are live streaming right now that we will be taking some questions on air. So feel free to put those questions in the chat. So before we get into those questions, again, this is a segment specifically dedicated to our widows. This is actually part 2. So if you missed our segment from 2 weeks ago, go ahead and check out Single Again, part 1. We talked about some great things. We talked about how widows are targeted, specifically
Yes.
how widows are targeted for their vulnerability, how they may be subject to scammers, romance schemes, and so forth, and ways in which widows can identify whether they're being catfished, how they can identify as to whether the person they're talking to is actually real. I am still tickled about your newspaper trick. I'm definitely going to incorporate that in my writing somewhere, but do not worry. I'm still going to give you credit for that. So just in case you missed that first segment, if you're ever talking to someone and they're located in another state, what Dr. Sharon was a really excellent tip. She said, ask them to show you a picture of their current newspaper, and they need to show it to you expeditiously. So not a week later, not the next day. No, they need to send it to you that same day, because if they can't produce a local paper from their area, which will show their state or their city, that lets you know the person is lying to you.
Yeah. Just hold it up. They can go to a 7-Eleven, get a local paper, hold it up so you can see the city and the date and their face at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. We also talked about how our community, how ways in which our community can really minister to widows, because when Dr. Sharon had previously shared when it was going to be her first Christmas alone, I believe it was the Advanced Writers and Speakers Association. They actually sent you gifts to put under your tree, because ordinarily you and your late husband would share gifts. You would give each other gifts on Christmas morning. So they blessed her with an abundance of gifts, so she'd have gifts under her tree. We talked about, just the importance of journaling as well, and just helping you in terms of that grief journey. And there was a few things I wanted to back up and kind of talk about in terms of that grief journey before we get into some of the juicy questions, because we got some juicy questions. Here at the Singles Oasis, we're not a tiptoe type of podcast. We jump right in the mud. We get dirty. So bear with me one moment. Also, too, we previously covered in our first segment, we also talked about some scriptures that pertain to widows. So we know, Dr. Sharon, that you were previously married for 21 years. And you've been a widow now for a little over 3 years. Yes. And something else you brought up that was very important in our last segment is that as singles, because all of us are singles from, excuse me, different walks of life. And we have to be careful with empty words and cliches and things of that sort, because naturally the first thing we say to someone that may be grieving is that, we're definitely going to pray for your family, whatever the situation is. That part is fine, but we have to be careful with saying we understand,
Hmm.
because if you have not been in that situation, you don't understand it. We all may
Right.
understand what the grief process looks like, because all of us may have lost someone that's close to us, but in terms of losing a spouse, that's a different type of season.
Yes. Yes. Every type of grief is different. And the person who, yes, you understand that someone is hurt. Yes, you understand that someone is missing that person, right?
Hmm.
But you don't understand, if you've never lost a child, you don't know what that's like. You
Right.
can imagine, but you don't know in your heart what that's like unless you have lost a child, right?
Right.
So don't say to someone, I know how you feel, if you have not had that same experience, right? You can
Right.
say, I feel, I feel for you, right? I feel for your loss. Um, but don't make it about you. My husband had one of his daughters had died as an adult. It was after he and I had gotten married, and someone said to him, "Oh man, I know how you feel." And no, they didn't. No, they had not never lost a child, and that's the one time during all of that that my husband really just lost it. He had to go back and really apologize to the man. But um, yeah, be very very careful. Um, Here's another one not to say, and
Okay.
I've actually had people say this to me. Well, at
Hmm.
least you had somebody that. Wait, excuse me.
Oh, that's
You know,
awful. That's not
at least you had a husband that loved you, and especially, who I hear this from. People who, women who had never been married,
wow.
and that's coming from their hurt. That's not about my hurt. you know that's their hurt. That's just like when somebody comes to you and says something that's going on, and you do a, but I can beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. One upping, type of deal. Or again, you mentioned a minute ago, it's basically flipping it to where it's inward. It's focusing on them.
Right. Right. And so, yeah, please don't do that.
That actually brings up that brings up another question. Since we're talking about, really what not to say, to widows, is there anything else we should avoid saying? And then once we cover that, can we maybe talk about, okay, what should we say to a widow? This, like I said, this is a different season for a lot of people, and for ministry leaders, especially if they have not personally experienced it or known anybody that's personally experienced it, they may not know how to help a widow.
Right. Right. Um, Another one not to say is, um, well, you're gonna be back together in heaven, you know. And I really want to come back with, but I want him here now.
That's the point.
I
Remember, the
just,
two are one flesh.
right. I'm not trying to, because I'm not in a rush to get to heaven, right? And it would sound like you would want me to, well, go ahead, go ahead and be with him because you want that so bad, or whatever. Come on now. So yeah. What what you can say, if it's about me,
Mm-hmm.
if your comment is about me and my hurt, what you can say is, because we love to talk about our husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can either ask me, well, what's one of the great things, that you remember about James? Or, just, you don't even have to say anything. Sometimes I just need a hug. Do you realize nobody's hugging me right now? I don't have anybody to hug me. I don't have anybody, you know, to, at the end of my day, I don't have anybody to talk to. Okay.
And these are things we don't think about. Like this is why I'm asking such a raw question, because we don't think about these things, or we take these things for granted, especially for those that, not all singles live alone. Some have roommates,
Right.
some live with their best friends, and some live with family. So they're
Mhm.
naturally going to receive those hugs, those communications, the opportunities to communicate. If, what do you call it, physical touch is their love language, they're receiving that. You
Yeah.
know, singles that, of course, that are plugged in, to a church also may receive, hugs there, but that's different when you're used to living
Mhm.
at home with your spouse and, receiving that affection. And that actually breaks my heart to hear that, because one night I was scrolling on Instagram and I remember seeing several posts where singles, I don't necessarily know if they've ever been married or not, but many of them were saying the same thing. They said, nobody's hugged me. They said, I haven't had a hug in months. I haven't seen my family in months because they live all the way on the other side of the country.
Right.
They
It could
said,
be, yeah, a lot of things. Like I have two sons, grown sons,
mm-hmm,
who have lives. And I raised them to have lives, right? Because they were not going to be grown and living under me, right? They were two Black men in America. They needed to be able to function,
mm-hmm,
right? And they do. And they're beautiful citizens, and all that. One has a family, has a wife, three kids, and a mortgage. Okay.
adulting 101.
Now, however, they don't call me. They don't call me a lot.
Mm-hmm,
They call me
mm-hmm,
now and then, right? But
right.
they've got their own lives, right? My friends who have grown daughters, the daughters feel like they're a little closer. I just know one man who he's single and he calls his mother every day. Okay. He's her
Mm-hmm.
only son, all of that. And I don't need to be called every day. It needs to be regular. It needs to be so I've put one of my nieces
Mm-hmm.
on the case, right? Because I said, somebody needs to know I am still alive in this house. Okay.
But sir, that makes sense. That
Right.
makes sense, because how many stories do we hear, or things on the news where someone was in their house and nobody knew that they were in distress and didn't find out about it for late days because no one checked on them. So that's a good point to bring out, is that
Hmm.
if you, even if you're not related to that widow and you've developed a good rapport with that widow, contact them, even if it's once a
Yeah,
week. It doesn't even have to be a long phone call, 15, 20 minutes. Just check in and see how you're doing. Do you need anything?
exactly.
Something of that sort, because it means a lot to people to know that you're thinking about them, because it shows you care about them.
Yeah. And I'm starting to connect those people to each other,
Mm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if my niece doesn't get through to me, she needs to call my boys,
Right.
right? Or if and all of that, which was nothing I needed to think about while James was here.
Right.
You know, I don't know if I said it on the last show, but the issue, and I try to face my own issues and realize what they are and at least acknowledge what
Mm-hmm.
they are, right? I am nobody's person. There is not a particular person, you know, who exists like for me. James existed for me. I existed for him. You know,
Right.
we were in a marriage. That's what it's supposed to be. We were one, right? There was
Mm-hmm.
never a time when I would call his phone and he wouldn't answer me, no matter what he was doing, right? And
Right.
vice versa. And so right now, that person in the universe does not exist for me.
Mm.
And that's hard. And it's something that I have to I obviously have to deal with it, but I am expressing it. I am saying that
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. I am nobody's person, you know. And that, my dear widow lady friends,
Mm-hmm.
is what can trip you up and rush you into relationships that you shouldn't be in.
Mm.
Right? I know whereof I speak. Okay.
So, okay, well, I'm gonna deviate a little bit. I'm gonna deviate. I brought up something because I have not covered any dating segments, as of yet, but they are forthcoming. I'm going to do them a little bit later in the season. But you mentioned some relationships, especially getting into relationships prematurely, and I know that we need to be led by the Holy Spirit, and the Lord will tell us when we are ready. But how would a widow know when he or she is ready to date again?
Number one is, like I'm saying, recognize how you feel,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and acknowledge it. All right. And then you could set up guardrails. If you don't recognize that you're in a race car, for example,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
you could be going over the speed limit and not realize the power of the car you're in.
Okay.
Okay. So by the same token, um, I recognize that I am not a loner. All right. I
Mm-hmm.
am better in a relationship. Okay. Those are like, it's like the guardrails or what
Mm-hmm.
have you. So since I know that about myself, I'm going, okay, so I need to be careful
Mm-hmm.
to realize that I need to really pay attention to my preferences,
Mm-hmm.
all right, to what I would let go by as an excuse when otherwise I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't, I'm not taking that. Like my husband, although we were husband and wife, right? He would never be allowed to disrespect me
That part.
ever. We would have words if that's something that I felt was coming up. Well, why would I accept that from
Mm.
someone else just because I'm lonely?
Oh, that's the
See, or
word.
just because I'm not a loner, I'm like, okay, you know, okay, that's not that bad. No, no, right? So I've got to be sure that I'm gonna stick to my guns, right? Um, because I'm realizing what my vulnerability is. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably a better way to say it, right?
So basically, recognize or acknowledge, how you feel, and then set up your guardrails. Really, more importantly, you just mentioned it a minute ago, is that you need to know what your vulnerabilities are. Those are basically your blind sides.
Yes, yes. So let's say if your vulnerability is a really deep voice, let's say, okay. So then when he shows up with that really deep voice, you'd be like, hold it.
Clutching my pearls, maybe.
Right, because someone with a higher voice could say the same things and you'd be like, get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But just because he said it with a deep voice, if you know that's your vulnerability, then you need to be like, ooh, hold it. you know, am
Mm-hmm.
I going to allow that? Right? Or what have you. Perhaps you really would love to be with someone who is a Christian and they're in church with you.
Mm-hmm.
That really matters to you. It would matter to you down the line, right?
Right.
But then you meet, Rico, and Rico don't go to church regularly. But, you know, he seems to be okay. And he may even read his Bible. He might even have it. He has it with. He reads his Bible, but he doesn't go to church. Hmm. If
Mm-hmm.
going to church and worshiping together, that that's a thing that's important,
Mm.
right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Then no, Rico can't get away with just reading his Bible. you know, knowing who you are, knowing who you're desiring for the long haul,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's important. Those things are important for you to know, right? Oh, you're just being picky. Uh-huh. Yeah, because this is my life.
And I really want us as singles in general to keep in mind that, when we talk about these guardrails, when we talk about these boundaries, for one, they're in place to help you weed out whom the Lord has not sent you or who you should not be connected to. Because let's be honest, there's some people that have made it past the gate when they shouldn't even made it past hello. Because had we really stuck to those stayed within those guardrails, stuck to those boundaries,
Right.
we wouldn't have been in that situation. Like you probably have seen on some of my Facebook posts, singles can date without compromise. Because when the
Hmm.
minute you start disregarding and setting those boundaries aside, going outside those guardrails, you're opening the door to compromise.
Right. And you will take the next step.
Hmm.
Don't say you won't. You will. You just will. Okay. So,
Okay. All right. We can talk about making the next step. Okay, let's step into this next question. Okay, so you were married for 21 years. So that means you were intimate for 21 years.
all 21. Thank you.
Okay, all these 21 years, as you should be, and
Right.
keeping the marital bed undefiled.
That's right.
Okay, and rendering due benevolence to one another. I mean, the Lord has designed marriage. Uh, that's a way in which people can uh, be intimate with
That
one another.
that's right. That's how God planned it.
Yes. So with that being said, you know where I'm going, Doc. You know where I'm getting ready
I
to go.
know where you're going, but I'm not gonna let you off the hook being uncomfortable. Go ahead and saying it.
Okay. So you used to widows are used to being intimate, and now they're a widow. How in the world do they deal with not having sex?
I know that is hard. Okay. Uh, that is not easy. You have to really change. I had to change my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at first, it wasn't. Now this might sound strange, but at first it wasn't difficult because the pain of just not having James there was like I don't even want to think about you know anything that has
Mm-hmm.
to do with any kind of relationship. I don't want to think about anything because everything is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you start to come out of that valley, and it is a valley of the shadow of death, right? And
Mhm.
so death does pass by,
Mhm.
okay? But we have to realize that a valley only exists because there are more peaks to reach.
Okay.
There are peaks all around any valley, okay? And if you do what the psalm says, walk through, you
Mhm.
keep walking. If you keep walking, you're going to be elevating. You're
Mhm.
going to be going up to another peak, right? What does get widows stuck is walking in a circle. We're not
Okay.
supposed to walk in circles. As we go through life, we walk in a line.
Mhm.
See, we should not be repeating and repeating and repeat. We should be walking in a line.
Mhm.
And that line has to do with growth, right? We're
Right.
constantly growing in the Lord. We're constantly moving forward. So if you move forward through a valley, you will be climbing eventually. And climbing takes you up to peaks. And then we know that on the tops of peaks, many times there are beautiful meadows. There's all kinds of wonderful things. So great. So
Mhm.
you keep walking. So as you are recovering from that season, all the things that you are as a woman are going to come back, right? And just like searching for those hugs, you
Mhm.
know we long again for intimacy, right? And if you long again for intimacy, you're going to have to deal with it the same way you dealt with it when you were in your 20s before you met him, or however old you were before you met your husband. You are back at that same you know, type of space, only now you have all this practice behind you. Okay.
Oh.
And so it's difficult. So you have the determination to, there's only one reason that you're not going to fall into temptation, and that's because you want to please the Lord.
Mhm.
There is no other reason. Yeah, okay, you can get into, oh yeah, it's too dangerous out there. You gotta, but there's safe sex options, or what have you. So,
Mhm.
and then more and more is interesting. More gentlemen I meet who have bought the notion, and it's not just a notion. So let me back that up, but have bought
Mhm.
the belief that you have to test the waters.
Yeah, or test drive before you buy. Yeah, that's the
Right.
analogy they like to use. Is that you test the waters. You got to test drive it before you buy it or before you commit.
Right.
Mhm.
And all that you need to do, you do really need to discuss honestly with
Mhm.
each other, you
Mhm.
know. But just like when you were younger is the same as when you're older. That's a lie from the pit of hell
Right.
for you to sin. Okay. There is
Mhm.
enough that you can talk about and be honest with each other,
Mhm.
okay, to know that, okay, this is gonna work. This is gonna work. And you know enough too about being close, if it's when you're kissing and hugging, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. You can tell, if your style, is gonna
Mhm.
work with each other when it comes to, full intimacy. So yeah, no. Because it becomes the same with women,
Mhm.
especially getting older, because I want to know, well, brother, you need to tell me something about your ability.
Oh, I'm going. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, just
Yeah.
because. But we need to know if the equipment is the
Does
equipment
the equipment still
still stand at attention. Okay, we lost your screen. Where'd you go?
Uh-oh, hold on. I don't know what happened. I put it on silent
Mm-mm.
so I would not have any call coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, you just screen is just black. I just can't see you.
Okay, how to
Do you
get
want to
back
pop
to
out? You want to pop out and pop back in? And what I'll do is I can stop the live and then restart it.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know how to get back.
Yes, let's do
Oh,
that.
is that
There
it?
you are. Yep, you're
Okay.
there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So you can
Okay, now
anyway.
you. Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Bear with us, y'all. Bear with us. We get to cackling a little bit, and then all of a sudden, just stuff don't want to act right. But what we were saying though, like we, but seriously, in dating, especially widows that are dating, because there's some instances where, um, it may be two divorcees, where one divorcee suddenly finds himself, um, you may have two divorcees that are considering dating, or you may have two widows that are
Yeah.
considering dating, vice versa. But these are honest questions that you have to ask. You're going to want to know, in terms of, intimacy. You may want to
Yeah.
have those questions about frequency, but what are you like? What's your expectations? But yes, you do need
And
to
those
know
are
that.
right. And those are totally the conversations that you need to be comfortable um to have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no shame about asking them, and especially when you get to be my age. Okay, because there's all kinds of different health issues
Yes.
as
Yes.
you become, I consider myself a young 69.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the kinds of health issues that other people at 69 and 70, you know, they're like walking on canes and, all kinds of things when that is not my health, situation.
Right.
So even whatever age you're at, you're also wanting to date, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is in your same health bracket, if that's such
Mm-hmm.
a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those questions are fair. They're fair to ask. And it's okay if somebody is, healthier and they have more stamina than you have at this point or what have you. You would just be frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship, where and if it were the other way around, you know
Right.
and those questions, like I said, those questions are fair.
But let me back up and ask this, because I know we're talking about, the struggle, with widows being single, and then and the struggle to avoid, having sex outside of marriage,
Hmm.
avoiding the sexual, immorality. But when is the actual appropriate time to ask these questions? Of course, you're not going to ask this question on the first date, but is it when you're considering an engagement? Like, when
Hmm.
is it appropriate? Because what my concern would be for my singles that are listening, whether they're widows or not, when you broach that situation, you don't want to open the door to temptation by having
Right.
these types of conversations.
Right. And I would say that that is obviously going to vary with every person. We were talking before the program started. Let's say if you're on a dating site,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, there's one site that it lets you say whether you're interested in a long-term
Mm-hmm.
relationship or if you're interested in just being friends or just chatting or whatever. If you're just chatting and being friends, that never has come up because there's no such thing as friends with benefits for me. Right?
Right.
And so you just want to chat? Okay, we're gonna talk about each other's kids and the jobs that we did or the jobs that we're doing now and how we like to go to this kind of movie and that kind of restaurant and you know what's going on in the political scene or whatever, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because there's not going to be a sexual component to that relationship. But as you get closer, if the relationship starts turning to
Mm-hmm.
be more romantic, then yeah, you have to start having those conversations, you know, and the earlier the better. You know, when there's a romantic anything, you know,
Mm-hmm.
involved, then you know you need to know, like, if the gentleman, let's say the gentleman, you and the gentleman are just talking, right, and you enjoy talking to each other, you laugh, you know, and all of that, but then when he sends you texts, he uses um pet names for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the time when you stop him. Hold it. You said you just wanted to be friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm not baby or sugar or any of those things, because those words stir up in me that I'm thinking you're saying you want to move further than a friendship. That's what those words mean to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I need you to stop using those words unless they mean that you are wanting to take this relationship to a romantic level. And if so, I need you to just say that, you know, and then we can talk about what happens next. But if indeed you just want this to be a friendly relationship, then you need to keep the texts as friends,
Okay.
right? So that's that kind of conversation. Yeah.
And so what I'm thinking about, because again, I'm still, because I want to make sure we still stay in the parameters of what God has said according to his word. Because again, we don't want to have sex outside of marriage, you know, whether we're widow, single, never had any, you know, single, never married, you know, whatever the status, you know, may
Mm-hmm.
be. And and those questions are important, especially when you get further along in the relationship. But what my concern would be is how do we avoid crossing the line before getting to the altar? That's what my concern is.
Right. Um, the way we avoid crossing the line getting to the altar is that we both have to make that decision.
Okay. Okay.
That has to be important to both people,
Okay.
you know, or else the one who wants it is going to continue to, you know, try to convince you. And
Okay.
what happens is, and a lot of times that's the man, okay, you know, who's trying to, sometimes it's the woman,
Come on now.
okay.
Tell it.
But if it's, let's say, if it's the man, then what happens is the longer you allow that kind of flirtation to take place,
Mm-hmm.
the the easier it's going to be for you to just say, "Oh, okay," because we're getting married anyway.
Mm.
And then that's no different. That's no different if you are 65 as if you're 25. It's absolutely no different, you know, which is tough, you know. It's just those rules shouldn't apply to older people. Well, they do. And
They apply to
there's
all of us.
no way to get around that.
They apply to all of us, even folks that are married, because you have to avoid defiling the marital bed. You cannot um, engage in sexual immorality while you're married. You can't commit adultery. I mean,
Right.
There is a reason why all these precepts are in place. It's
Yes.
to protect us.
And the older that we get, if we look around, all you got to do is go to funerals. And the older you get, the more funerals you go to. All you got to do is go to funerals and watch families that are convoluted by marriage and remarriage and sex outside of marriage. It's just, it so easily turns into a mess. And you got these kids and these step kids and these
Mm-hmm.
kids we didn't know about, but here they are.
Mm-hmm.
And God never intended those things to be so. And almost every time it turns into a mess when somebody dies.
Because you know why? They're fighting. They're going to be fighting over whatever assets are left. And
Yeah.
there'll be animosity towards the different sides of the family, especially if you've got a secret family that's over here, to the left, because they're going to think that they're entitled, while this side, this family, like, that's how
Mm-hmm.
all of that conflict starts. There's also resentment between
Yes.
children as well, especially if one set of children were abandoned while they were younger as well. Like, we don't think about these different types of
Mm-hmm.
dynamics. Like, you don't just read about this drama or hear about it on TV or
Mm-mm.
in books. No, people are hurting. Like,
Right. And people's feelings are involved. And
yes.
so as an older couple, you have to work hard thinking about that. Because when James and I married, we had both been married before.
Mm-hmm.
And he had older children who he had already raised. Now he was taking in my two boys who were younger. Okay, are they going to become a part of the will? you know, I mean, they were, and he sat down with his children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talked these things out with them before we even got married. Actually, before I knew he had talked to them about it. Okay, when he was thinking about our getting married and all of that, he thought those things through, and you think those things in advance and you get everybody on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get to turn from that page in the event that I die. Right?
Right.
Here's the understanding. So in bringing somebody else in, I know already, right, that if I ever get married again, more than likely, if that gentleman has children, and especially if he has daughters, that's going to be an issue. Now,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a contentious issue, or a smooth issue, I'm not, but it's going to be an issue because girls are protective of their daddies.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And what are you? You coming in here with my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. Not thinking daddy's alone. Daddy's lonely. He, right. He wants to be surrounded by more than just his grandkids. He loves his grandkids, but come on now. Right. But they're not thinking about that. The same with, I have sons. Okay. But my sons need to think about who's this dude
All up on my mama. Like, what
all
do
up
you?
on my mama like that.
What you want? What are your intentions? With my mama, because sons are protective of their mothers.
Exactly. Right. And everybody's concerned about the will.
Yep.
Everybody want to know what piece of this house they gonna get.
Mm-hmm. And if you got insurance or any other assets or wherever, retirement, all of that, like, okay, the beneficiaries want to know how we benefiting.
That's right. Now, are you thinking about the fact that your mama's by herself? Are you thinking about the fact that daddy's by himself?
Wow.
Those things matter to mom and dad. I remember when I met James, my boys were elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
But I joined the dating service because I was sick of seeing movies made by Disney. Can I go to an adult movie? you know, can
Right.
I go someplace to eat that doesn't have hamburgers on the menu? How about that?
All the time.
All the
Hamburgers,
time.
hot dogs, chicken nuggets,
Right? All
whatever
the
the
time.
menu, little pizza.
Right. And so mom and dad are men and women, and they want that attention still. And you grown kids, you got your attention.
Why can't mama and daddy,
Why
find?
can't mama have why can't mama? Why can't daddy?
And it's interesting, that you bring that up because I think a lot of adult children don't realize that, when their parents, you know, have desires to date again, because their previous spouse has passed. They don't think about that. And I don't necessarily know if it's because it's a one-track mind or they're focused on their own lives. But again, God has designed all of us for relationships. Now, what types of relationships, ultimately, God knows best, whether those are friendships, whether that results in marriages or wherever, but we're all designed to crave, desire relationships.
Yes. Right. And I mean, it just is that I get it. I I know my sons. I have two sons, and I know I'm ready to have that sex talk, you know. And they're pretty much like, cause
Mhm.
mama, as far as I'm concerned, you did that twice.
I mean, y'all got look how it got here. I
Yeah, and
mean,
I don't even want to think about that part, right?
right,
So,
right.
your mama is a sexual being. Daddy is a sexual being,
Mm,
okay? And until I guess, until it's not possible any longer, there's still going to be those desires. And as believers, those desires can only be fulfilled in marriage, you know. And so just there's a lot to think about. I think God, like with James and I was in my mid 40s and
mm-hmm.
he was in his late 50s
Mm,
when we got married. And so we didn't have a long courtship, because we're saying we ain't got a lot of time. Like when oh, take a year. Probably not. Probably not. And then you do have a lot more wisdom.
mm-hmm.
You do know how to cut through so when you finally get to somebody who you're talking to like that, you've talked through a lot,
Right.
you know. And so all that, well, why are you rushing? Why won't you take what, honey? Do you know how old I am?
Ah,
you know. But just like we started, you still want to be compatible. You want to pray about it. If ladies, if if a man is not praying, if a man is not seriously saying to you, I prayed about this and this is what I believe the Lord, not saying it just to get in your pants, but
come on, tell it.
literally, he's saying, and you see the evidence in his life. You see his commitment to his church. You see his commitment to Bible study. You see his commitment to prayer. Listen to him pray. Listen. You could tell if he's talking to God or if he's trying to impress you.
That's good. That's good because a man that truly spend times in this word in God's word will pray scriptures back to the Lord. He'll be praying the scriptures. He'll be praying the word. He will know
Right.
how to pray it,
He will
and
know
he
how
will
to
know how to
pray
go to war for you too in the spirit.
in the spirit. See, my dad my dad was very, very quiet person. And he was a preacher, but at home, very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And some we would go around, we would share who prayed, right, for meals. We
Mm-hmm.
always ate dinner together, always, 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 like my whole life. And when it was daddy's turn to pray, you could hardly ever hear him, right? And we would say, Daddy, we couldn't hear you. And he would say, I'm not talking to you.
Oh, oh,
He's like, I wasn't talking to you. You didn't have to hear what I was saying.
oh. If I had pearls, I would clutch them. I would clutch my pearls if I had them on. I don't. Woo!
But yeah, you could tell when a man is and it might be, I mean, it should be mixed with a little bit of, him trying to impress you or whatever. Okay.
Of course.
Let's give him that. We'll give him that. But he ought to be actually talking to God. you know, when he prays, he ought to be uh bringing things to your remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you are getting upset about something, and he should be bringing to your remembrance, right? That, okay, let's pray about it, or something that is genuine.
Right. Right.
Okay. Um, so yeah, that's because you're wanting, what are you praying about? Let's go there. All
Okay.
right. I prayed for a Psalms 1 husband. And
Mm.
when I said prayed for I wasn't praying that I would get him. I was praying for him
Mm-hmm.
because he was somewhere on the planet.
Okay.
And
Okay.
his wife of anybody should be praying for him.
Exactly.
Right. So before I met him, I would be saying, blessed is my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Because my husband does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, and my husband doesn't stand in the way of sinners, and my husband doesn't sit in the seat of the
Awesome.
scornful. But my husband's delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law, my husband dedicates day and night. And my husband is like a tree who's
Yes.
planted. But now I'm praying that over James,
Mm-hmm.
but I hadn't met James,
Right.
right? And so pick passages of scripture that you pray over your husband who exists, right? Because wherever he is, he's going through the vicissitudes of life as you are. And if you're praying for him, perhaps you're going to be able to release him from what he's going through so that he will be in the place to meet you when you meet.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And you'll recognize him because you've been praying for him,
Wow. That's
you
good.
know. And he'll say things to you. Things will be in his spirit that he will say to you that you recognize, because those were the things that you said to God's ears,
Mm.
you know. Um, and don't fall for anybody who's saying anything less, because that's not him.
That part. Say it.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up to be found by the man who God is sending. Right. So, and it's easier said than done. Don't think that I'm not the poster child. I'm trying to be, right? Because I haven't had to put this into play.
Right.
But now I'm going back to remember, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to do this, or I used to do that. And I need to put those things back, you know, because they brought me a wonderful husband, you know. So I'm starting to see, okay, yeah, if you're doing like the dating apps or whatever, if somebody says in their little description something that doesn't click with you, X,
or swipe, or depending on which app you use,
swipe
swipe left or swipe
whatever
right.
way.
I'm not sure which one ever it was, but whatever one, and move on to the next one. Just go ahead and move
Hmm.
on to the next one.
And don't linger, because that's when you start to second guess yourself,
Oh, that's good.
you know. And I told a girlfriend I was just and I get, not often, but I was really feeling defeated because it was just things coming from everywhere, not just the relationship, issues, but this issue and that issue and that issue. Till I said to her, I don't even feel um desirable.
Hmm.
And she had to, like, she jumped down my throat.
Hmm.
She was like, cut it out. you know, it was kind of like boom, boom, right?
Right, right. Like that.
What are you
Let's
what
let's
are you talking about?
like shake yourself.
Right. But that's why you have friends, you know, that you can honestly share. Here, people say, how are you?
Be honest.
Yeah,
Don't
stop saying, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. When you don't feel blessed and highly favored today.
when you toe up from the flow up.
Yeah, say it. Say it. And then you give them an opportunity to do what they're there for,
Right.
you know, and to kind of go, oh, okay, I forgot.
I'm glad you brought up friends. I'm glad you brought that up because they're so important.
Yes.
We getting close to our 1 hour mark. I cannot believe how fast the time flew by. Like this is just so
And we
so.
have not covered anything that was on the list.
We did. We covered the
Okay.
intimacy. We covered that because I know that we kind of, the Lord moved us in some other directions, because I'm actually glad we had this conversation about dating, because dating is different for widows, especially women that are a bit older. But before we actually close this part of the segment, because I still think we may need a part three. I think we called it when we initially talked about this.
I got it.
Um, what I wanted to leave our audience with, at least for part two of this segment, is I wanted us to briefly talk about ways in which, and we'll have to do this in a couple of minutes, but ways in which the church can support widows. Because I really feel like, you may have, your mother's board, or you may have mothers that are widows, but I don't necessarily see that support in action. You may have a bereavement ministry, but I feel like it stops after that. I just feel
Yeah.
like that there's a gap. So, how can the church support or help widows in their
Right.
seat?
I think churches should have widows groups, um separate from the women's fellowship. Okay. um because I know there there was one time in particular that I expressed a prayer request,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just kind of brushed aside. To me, you know it was kind of like, oh yeah, we all feel that way. Boom, wait a minute. I'm saying I feel that way right now,
Right.
right? And I want, if I'm going to, especially if I'm going to express a request, I want it taken as seriously as any other request. You know, not Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You strong. You got this. Like, wait a minute. So needs to be, um, there must be times when
Coming out.
widows can talk to each other, when widows can be heard by other people who will then take the next step. It's not enough just to be heard. It's like, so what are you going to do about it? You know, I mean, something as simple as if we don't have people to come over and fix something at the house,
Mhm.
okay, there needs to be a group of men at the church who we can call, because number one, it better be someone we could trust to come into my home,
Mhm.
right? Someone who I know who they are,
Right.
right? I mean, those kinds of things
Mhm.
need to be in place, um, and through the church, you know. And if widows, if they're having financial issues,
Mhm.
you know, just like the church would, you know, pay a single mother's rent for a month or whatever, the widows, right? Without judgment. So, for example, didn't your husband leave you enough? There's attitudes, there's stuff. Okay.
Wow.
there's
Wow.
stuff. There's stuff. Um, and so all of those things need to be able to be talked about. They need to be able to be covered. I think that's what the church was facing in the first century, you
Mhm.
know, neglecting the widows,
Mm.
right? And who did they put over it? They put men, important men in the church, not just somebody who came to volunteer,
Right.
right?
Right.
The leaders, they put leaders in charge of it. Okay. But widows have to have a voice. They must. They must be given a place for a voice, and then a voice that is heard, and voices that are acted upon in their behalf.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good, Doc. I
Mhm.
think we have to end it here, but I would actually like us to continue this conversation. Yes,
Part
we need to have
three.
our part three. We have to have our part three because I want us to talk some more about these widows, our widows group, like what that would actually look like, and what an actual ministry for widows would look like. Because I really feel that the body of Christ is not adequately equipped to minister to our widows. You know, we're supposed to go out in the highways and the hedges and to compel men to come. But how are we actually taking care of those in the body when we've got different scriptures that talk about we need to be rendering aid, always treat with great consideration and give aid to those that are truly widow who are solitary without support. I mean, that comes from 1 Timothy 5:3. We're
Mhm.
ignoring a basic requirement in a scripture. So I definitely want us to come back and we'll definitely cover what we did not cover in this segment. But the discussion was just so good. And I just so appreciate your time. Doc, before we close out the segment, I know you have a book. Did you want to plug your book in and just also to state where people can find you if they want to learn more about you?
Right. Okay. So the book is. No, that's the wrong book. Didn't see that coming. It's the wrong book.
Yep.
And I don't have. Wait. Yes, I do. That's the wrong book. That's if you have kids who are messing up.
Okay.
Okay.
Which
Grown
we can talk
kids.
about, well, we can talk about that too in another
Yeah.
segment. We can talk about those prodigals in a different segment.
Right. But the book for widows after him. Okay. A devotional journal for widows. And you can find me now. Of course, one of the issues I'm having is with my website, y'all. And so
Mm-hmm.
You can find me though on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. Um, just Dr. Sharon Elliott. You can find me there. You can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
Um, I'm there as well. And then my email address is authorizemenow@gmail.com if you want direct access um, to me. The books are also available, of course, on Amazon. And just look up my whole name, Sharon Norris Elliott.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just writing all this down here so what I can include in a post. But again, Dr. Sharon, we so appreciate you here at the Singles Oasis. We had such a great time. I'm so glad we were able to do part two, and I'm so looking forward to doing part three of our segment of Single Again. But again, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. We want to thank all of our viewers that are watching either the live stream or will watch the replay, and also our viewers that are listening. Be on the lookout for updates on when we're going to do our part three and also future segments. And just to let you all know that the Singles Oasis, we do our live streaming segments every other Wednesday. So we will let you know what's in store on the 22nd. Let me make sure I'm doing my math correctly. The 22nd. But we'll also let you know too about segments that will be scheduled in between, because I'm going to start scheduling some segments where it'll be just me, just talking about various topics as well, because we want to make sure that you all have uh, access to new segments and new material more often. Again, you can find us on YouTube. The Singles Oasis has a YouTube page. You can follow me on Facebook at Mary Bowen, where you see the live streams for the Singles Oasis. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Music, and anywhere pretty much where you stream your podcast. But again, we want to thank you all for tuning in and listening tonight. Again, a special shout out and special thank you, Dr. Sharon, for a wonderful Single Again part two segment. And we're going to go ahead and sign off. God bless you all. We love you with the love of the Lord, and we'll see you later this month. Take care. Bye bye.